Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Care Manager Inner Circle. My name is Jonathan and it's a delight once again to see you here this evening. Tonight, I want to talk to you about, do you really know what's going on in your care home? I'm going to talk about the concerns that you might have, what is actually going on, which might be a little bit more disturbing than you possibly think, and what the sort of systems you may wish to consider to try and find out what really is going on in your care organisation, wherever you are in UK. So once again, welcome to the Care Managers Inner Circle. We're a safe sanctuary here to look after each other, support each other. We're a positive group here, doing some amazing work, looking after each other and our gorgeous residents in our beds. If you're watching on Catch Up, hashtag Catch Up. It's always nice to know who's out there, and tell us what you're doing. And you know, if you know of other care managers, then please welcome them in. It's we are here as a thriving group to support each other, but we only accept care managers and or people in senior appointments within social care. And also no promoting or selling, as you all know that. Anyway, tonight I want to talk to you about, do you know what's going on in your care home? Well, I can tell you, you don't. Categorically, you don't. And I think this is from experience. You've all been there. You've all, because one thing is common with this. When you find something out, when something suddenly crosses your desk, when someone says to you, can I just have a quiet word? It might be an exit interview. It might be an agency who's been on. It might be a relative saying, can I just tell you a few words? It might be that complaint that comes in, which you start taking a little bit more seriously and you start to see themes. But ultimately, every single one of you here on this, watching on Catch Up, every single one of you care managers in UK, you do not know 100% what's going on in your care home. And I'd like to think that you probably know maybe 70%, but I can assure you now a significant aspect of your care business you do not know about. And there's things going on in your world, under your roof, and on your watch that you'd rather wish didn't happen. So let me just see who's so comments wise. We've got a few. Let's see, we've got our Helen there. Good evening, Helen. Good evening to everyone. And also Bindi, good evening, Bindi. Lovely to see you. And we've got lots of Facebook users. I know there's our Joanne Carruthers. Hi all, lovely to see you all, and thank you for joining us this evening. So tonight, back onto our, do we know what's really going on at care homes? Well, by the very nature of the question, I can tell you no, you don't. And let me just put it in context for you all. The reality is that you probably don't, the quality of care being delivered, as much as you think is exemplary, as much as you think is excellent, it won't be as good as what you think. And this is very much the starting point, that the staff, your staff, regardless of how long they've been there with you, are not as loyal as what you consider. That people do not care in the way that you possibly would like them to think, in terms of, that you would consider. But people don't care in the same way that possibly you care. The reputation of your home is not as important to every member of staff as it is to you. That is fact. And to some people, as awful as this sounds, the reality is it is just a job. And as much as we hold ourselves that, you only work in social care for all the right reasons, and you certainly don't do it for the money, there are a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but there are a lot of people who are in social care for exactly that reason, for the money, because either they can't find anything else, or indeed, but they're not in it for the motivational reasons and the drive that possibly you get up in the morning. And in worst case, you could have a culture, you could have an organization that abuse is going on, as much as you can have the most fantastic organization on the face of it. But the reality is abuse could be going on. You could have staff stealing from you. You could certainly have staff in terms of lateness, taking time from you, not being as punctual, and the list can go on. Now, this sounds rather doom-mongery, but I think you need to understand that whatever is going on in your home, you are a fool, and certainly you are ignorant to think that you know exactly what's going on. And I think the starting point is accept that you don't know what's going on. And why be bothered about this? Well, first and foremost is whatever audits and standards that you set yourselves, you'll never attain them if you turn a sort of Nelsonian eye to the standards which might be being delivered behind closed doors. Also, that you are vicariously liable. You are the care manager, you're the registered care manager, you're in a position of seniority in social care, but you are the captain of your ship. Certainly one of the most senior appointments on your care ship, and therefore you're vicariously liable, whether or not you know it. You can't use ignorance as a defense. And certainly, you've got to be able to demonstrate to the Care Quality Commission, to local commissioners as well, that you have got robust systems in place in order to identify exactly what really is going on in your care home. So tonight I'm just going to go through some of the sort of 8, you could have 10, you could have 12, but these are the things which I would recommend to any care manager in order to start to establish. First and foremost, accept you don't know. You don't know 100% what goes on in your organization. And once again, you're a fool if you do consider that. So that's the starting point. And then just accept that you are also responsible for ensuring that you establish systems in order to try and find out as much as you possibly can. You'll never know 100% and you'll never know 95%. But you want to get as close to 100% as you possibly can. So inspections, out of hours inspections are very powerful. Not as many managers, as much as people talk about them, not as many managers actually do them as you would think. We're talking, and there's a number of out of hours inspections. We're not always talking about, although they're very useful, the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clocks, although yes, you must do those across maybe once a quarter. But we're talking about the ones, particularly towards the back end of shifts, where you might come in not 5 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes early, because things have pretty much sorted themselves out by then. People on the wind down, they're ready to hand the baton over. But we're talking about an hour, maybe an hour and a half before the end of the shift. That can be particularly telling, and it's a very different dynamic on any shift. So out of hours inspections, and certainly being there, at not regular. So if you're a regular care manager that comes in maybe sort of 8 o'clock, 8:30, maybe 7:30, then change your pattern. You change your pattern of routine is one which is very, very useful. The next one is use of CCTV. It can be slightly controversial, but my goodness, you'll find out because it blends into the background. CCTV, we've certainly had it established for a number of years at Birkdale Park and also Rosebank, and it becomes part of the scenery. You never refer it, you never sort of state to people that you watch it, you never refer to it in any way, and you can see the comings and goings. You can see certainly if people are on nights, you can certainly see who's sleeping, who's not sleeping, who might be in various chairs, whether in communal areas. But you never refer to it in any sort of briefing or any member of staff. You just turn up and it's there to be logged. And again, that can be very useful. The next one's even more controversial, is use of covert devices. We have a very open policy, if that can be said, a very open policy at Birkdale Park that we use covert devices where we feel appropriate in order to protect and safeguard our residents and also safeguard the reputation of the home. These come in 2 forms. They come in listening devices and also covert CCTV that we can install into a person's room. And the system is that if we suspect that someone might have been, I'm not talking about abuse here, but certainly if we've got suspicions, so there'll be people who are high risk, those people who've got dementia, those people who are not able to communicate, there might be stroke, there might be, but you'd like to just make sure and reassure yourself that there is quality care being delivered to those people, or indeed you might have a suspicion that something might not be quite right. And it might be the use of agency, it might be that you've got the start of bruising on arms, you think that manual handling might not be as effective as or being carried out in the way that it should be. Therefore, just by placing a listening device into a room, certainly gives you the assurance, because you can hear an awful lot whether not appropriate care. You don't have to see it, but you can hear the tonality, you can hear about the quality care being delivered, and that is incredibly powerful. All members of staff sign that they're aware of that. All relatives and residents also consent for that. If they don't, that's absolutely fine. And just explaining that to a family, again, is very, if we suspect that there is something untoward, then the next thing we escalate in a particular room is then covert CCTV. And again, we've got consent for that from a family, or from, it might be a best interest meetings held by a very close coven of people that we feel are going to escalate it. It is also held that the only person who deploys these is myself. So we don't have a big field of knowledge. It is initially, initiated by myself and maybe one other person. And we put safeguards in place in terms of double envelopes of justification for doing what we're doing. So that's use of covert devices. Exit interviews with staff, agency, and residents are unbelievable. And it's only in recent years I've realized how important these are. Staff, when they leave, have got no bones they've got no axe to grind. And whilst they might just tell you, they still might have some mates there, of course they do, and they, of course, don't want to burn any bridges, of course they do, that's only human nature. But understanding and listening to them properly, not listening in terms of a way to correct them or tell them where they're wrong, but really listen to them and say, look, you're going now, completely confidential, tell me the sort of things that you think I might not want to hear. Tell me the sort of things that we can put stuff right. Tell me the sort of things that you think that we can do so much better and aren't online with our brand of being Birkdale Park in terms of excellent, outstanding quality of care. Tell me what I don't want to hear. And generally, 9 times out of 10, because people leave our organizations, 9 times out of 10, they leave on a really good, we welcome them and wish them all the very best. So same with agency, because agency have got nothing to grind, and also residents as well. Residents leaving, might be going home, then they will also tell you. So that they will also tell you what at times what you might not want to hear, but it's incredibly powerful. Visitors also are a great source of information. They will tell you, as happen frequently, if you get them just over to a side, just 5 minutes, and just say, look, is there anything you might have seen that you'd rather not tell me? Because visitors seldom will tell you straight, because they think that the quality of the care being delivered to their mum and dad might be affected. And if you get this trust with them that you want to hear stuff that you'd rather not hear, then you do get a trust and a bond between people. Then they will open up, because they know that it's you come from a good place, you come from a place where you're genuinely trying to improve. Supervisions is another one where you can confidentially just say, look, this isn't going to go any further, but I need to know what's going on. Tell me, particularly those people who are aspirational, and particularly those who would like to be a senior, or indeed aspiring seniors who want to go on and possibly become nurses. They're the ones that they feel that certainly you having an understanding that they've from a position of diligence, they've demonstrated, they've identified areas that you could improve. Then again, they're more open with you, and that's happened a number of times. And also the final one is sort of deep dives into audits, which again is, so an audit is given to you. You then go onto the floor and really sort of rigorously go over that and identify whether or not that audit is what the paper is written on, or it really was just a tick box exercise. I've got to say, our audits have come a long way. The final one, which isn't on there, is complaints. Complaints is free consultancy. It's as simple as that. And feedback is the breakfast of champions, as we often hear, and it's so true. Really rigorously go over complaints, because it's just the tip of the iceberg. If someone has had the proverbials to voice their concern to you or an issue, then really dig and find out, look, there's more, isn't there? Is there anything else that you haven't told me? that you really feel. I should say. So, folks, just let me wrap up now. So, accept that you don't know. Out of hours inspections, particularly on shift changeover, as well as the ones in the deeper nights, the 2, the 3, the 4 o'clock in the morning. Use the CCTV. But confidentially, and a few other bits. Use of covert devices. I've mentioned that. Exit interviews for staff, agency residents, visitors. Absolutely, really dig, and get some real genuine feedback. Supervisions, confidential supervisions, and deep dives into audits. And I just finally sort of leave you with this: is that you've got to make sure that you've set the standard when it comes to what is expected in your organization. So there is no comeback. People can't say they didn't know, that they've signed things. They absolutely know. It's quality inductions. It's you've set the standard quite clearly in all these areas. Never react. If someone tells you something, never overreact, because that's one sure way of certainly shutting up your sources. And protect your sources wherever that information has come from. Be overly protective and make sure that they feel safe in confiding in you, because it's not going to come back on them. And have the moral courage to do something about it, because you will find more than you initially bargained for. So there you go, folks. I think it's quite clear. People, you don't know what is going on in your home, and so establish some of the systems in order to try and find out. We wish you well. See you soon. See you on Thursday, and goodbye for now.